Picture this. You're a starving 12-year-old peasant boy walking barefoot through the morning mist of medieval France. Your stomach aches with hunger that has gnawed at you for weeks. Ahead looms the massive stone walls of Château de Tiffauges, home to the realm's most celebrated war hero. You've been promised food, coins, and the honour of serving a legendary knight who fought alongside Joan of Arc. Your parents wept with relief when the Baron's men chose you. You have no idea you're walking toward your own death, that you're about to become another victim in history's most horrific child-killing spree. The iron gates creak open before you, like the jaws of some ancient beast. Guards in worn chainmail wave you through without a second glance. After all, you're just another peasant boy come to serve the great Gilles de Rais. But what you don't know is that over 200 children have walked through these same gates before you. None of them ever walked out. But here's what will shock you even more. The man you're about to meet isn't just any killer. He once stood beside Joan of Arc as she liberated France. Kings knelt before him. The Pope himself blessed his sword. In 20 minutes, you'll discover how this saint became Satan himself. Before diving into this forgotten story of survival and suffering, if you enjoy learning about the hidden truths of history, consider hitting that like button and subscribing for more content like this. And please comment below to let me know where you're listening from. To understand how France's greatest war hero became its most evil monster, we must go back to the beginning. You've heard whispers about Gilles de Rais throughout your short life, stories told around village fires about the Golden Knight who rode beside the Maid of Orleans herself. Picture young Gilles in 1415, barely 11 years old, watching English longbowmen slaughter French knights at Agincourt. His grandfather lies bleeding in the mud, cut down by common soldiers who dared to challenge noble blood. In that moment, something breaks inside the boy's mind. He learns his first lesson about power, that it must be absolute or it is nothing. But here's where the story takes its first dark turn. What you don't know is that even as a child, Gilles showed signs of the monster he would become. At age 13, he tortured stray cats in the castle courtyard, delighting in their screams. At 15, he raped a servant girl and laughed when she begged for mercy. His family covered up these early crimes, believing he would outgrow such phases. By 1429, when Joan of Arc appears at the court of Charles VII, Gilles has grown into a magnificent knight. Standing 6 feet tall in an age when most men barely reached 5.5, his golden hair gleaming beneath his helm, he cuts an imposing figure. Joan herself chooses him as one of her most trusted commanders, seeing in him the righteous fury needed to drive out the English invaders. Imagine the scene at the siege of Orléans. You're standing on the city walls as Gilles leads his men in a charge that breaks the English lines. His battle cry echoes across the battlefield as enemy soldiers flee before his sword. Children cheer from windows, mothers weep with joy, and Joan herself places a hand on his shoulder, calling him my most faithful knight. But wait until you hear what Joan never noticed about her faithful knight. The signs were there all along, and they're absolutely terrifying. But what Joan doesn't see, what no one sees, is the look in Gilles' eyes during battle. It's not the righteous anger of a patriot fighting for his homeland. It's the pure sexual ecstasy of someone who has discovered that killing brings him more pleasure than anything else in life. Each English soldier he cuts down feeds something dark and hungry inside his soul. You're still walking through the castle corridors, following a silent servant who refuses to meet your eyes. The stones beneath your feet are worn smooth by centuries of footsteps, but you notice dark stains between the cracks that water hasn't been able to wash away. What you don't realize is that you're walking the same path that 200 other children have walked, and that those stains are their blood. But before we reveal what happened to those children, you need to understand the moment that turned France's greatest hero into its most evil monster. The year is 1431, and Joan of Arc burns at the stake in Rouen. Gilles stands in the crowd, tears streaming down his face as the flames consume the woman who gave his life meaning. But these aren't tears of grief, they're tears of rage. In his twisted mind, Joan's death isn't a tragedy, it's a betrayal. She promised him glory, victory, and eternal fame. Instead, she left him with nothing but an empty castle and debts that threatened to destroy his family name. What happens next will change everything you think you know about good and evil. Picture Gilles returning to Chateau de Tiffauges that night. The servants scatter before him like mice before a cat. He storms through halls that once rang with laughter and celebration, but now echo only with his footsteps. In his private chamber, surrounded by portraits of Joan and relics from their campaigns together, something fundamental shifts in his mind. But here's what you don't know, what the history books don't tell you. Joan's death wasn't just the end of Gilles' military career. It was the beginning of something far more sinister. Without the structure of war to channel his violent impulses, without Joan's moral guidance to restrain his darkest urges, the monster that had been hiding beneath the knight's armor was finally free to emerge. The first victim comes in the summer of 1432. A young boy from the village of Tiffauges, barely 10 years old, sent to the castle to work in the kitchens. His name is lost to history, but his death marks the beginning of a reign of terror that will last 8 years and claim hundreds of innocent lives. But here's what will make your blood run cold. What Gilles does to this first boy is nothing compared to what he'll perfect over the next 8 years. Imagine yourself as that first boy, confused and frightened as Gilles leads you to his private chambers. He speaks gently at first, asking about your family, your hopes, your dreams. His voice is kind, almost fatherly, and you begin to relax. This is the great hero you've heard so much about. Surely he means you no harm. The truth about what happens next won't just shock you, it will haunt you. But then you notice the way his eyes linger on your face, the way his breathing becomes heavier. His hand, the same hand that once held Joan's banner, reaches out to touch your cheek. You try to pull away, but his grip is iron strong. "Don't be afraid," he whispers, and you realize with growing horror that you should be very afraid indeed.